5 reasons why you should see Ayaka Nation 2018.
Number 5.
3B Junior.
I know I've complained in the past about 3B Junior being the and Knuckles of idols, and I still feel like that's how they were always treated. We can go on about how it never really seemed that 3B Junior idols ever really got the chance at a proper idol career, and that mismanagement was ultimately what led to the dissolution and mass graduation from the group. But that's not the point. This live took place right before the dissolution of 3B Junior was announced, and looking at this retrospectively, it does go to show how much promise the members of Stardust's famed trainee program were showing in their final years. Even in the past, with my fast road to nowhere career-wise hot take of 3B Junior, I've always conceded that they've been utilized exceptionally well in the context of these concerts and helped to supplement the live performances in the best way. They were great in the past, and this final appearance is the perfect send-off for them.
Number 4.
Camaro.
Back some time ago, there was a video uploaded to the Angel Eyes site where they showed behind the scenes for the shooting of the opening videos and closing, of course, for Ayaka Nation in 2018. And near the end, they showed her driving a pink Camaro. And that was the biggest reason why I wanted to get this live in the first place. I've always had an interest in cars, but especially within the last couple of years. And even though there isn't very much of her driving the Camaro, I still feel like it was worth it. However, if I had to critique anything, I will say this. It would have been even cooler if she drove it a little bit faster. Yes, I know, risk, danger, etc., insurance, but hear me out. So the Camaro she's driving is either the RS or LT model. That, if it's the RS, especially, it's powered by the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which is in the same power class as the Lincoln Town Car and less powerful than the current generation Civic Type R by Honda. The 4-cylinder Camaro, especially in its convertible form, as far as visibility is concerned, is not very dangerous, and because of its engine, it's not very fast. On top of that, the 6th generation Camaro is built on GM's Alpha platform, which is considerably lighter than the 5th generation Camaro, which was built on GM's Zeta platform, meaning that it is much more maneuverable and behaves more like a sports car than a muscle car as a result. The 6th generation Camaro was built to be track-worthy, so having a lighter platform to make it tossable in a way the 5th generation Camaro wasn't, and thus should make it okay to be driven a little faster around the twisty country roads that Audine is seen driving in. So instead of being driven like this, I think it would have been a little bit cooler if it was driven more like this. But of course, I'm a child and did not go in having such unrealistic expectations in the first place, so it's just seeing Audine in a big American sports car at all was good enough for me, so it was cool regardless.
Number 3.
Summer.
The theme for this concert being summer sounds like maybe a little bit of a cop-out, perhaps, but in execution, it's actually done pretty well. The summer theme of this concert is captured quite well, though there is one part where it isn't explicitly related to summer, but I'll get to that soon. The costumes, the videos, the new song, of course, all bring the concert into a nice, cohesive summer theme. The song Early Summer, which was new at the time and one of my favorites off of Arin Assort, review coming soon, does such a great job capturing exactly what the title describes and is the perfect opener for this live. Of course, all Ayaka Nation concerts have taken place in the summer thus far, but this one feels the most summer-esque because it goes out of its way to portray that in every conceivable way, which brings us to our next part.
Number 2.
Summer love, they call it summer love.
Part of entering into the Ayaka Nation is understanding all the different aspects of the personality of Arin. That's the main draw, as a matter of fact. Ayaka Nation isn't just some collection or series of solo concerts. What sets them apart is they are directly tied to Arin's personality and the many sides of her personality. You can't just get any person to perform a concert like this. There is no replacement. This concert would not make sense if Arin wasn't the starring role. This might sound obvious, but I suspect it might not be as intuitive to people looking in from the outside. Looking at this section of the concert, many from the outside might see it as something like a diet K-pop performance, since female K-pop performances are all just this, except more intense as far as choreography is concerned, and maybe a little bit, well, yes, more explicit. In the same way that K-pop idols have co-opted American female hip-hop choreography and tuned it down to gain mass appeal internationally, Arin has co-opted what K-pop has done and tuned it to be in line with her personality, this side of her personality to be specific. We've seen the more alluring side of Arin before in previous Ayaka Nation concerts, but this is probably the longest a spotlight has been put on it, and with this intensity. Indeed, this is the spiciest it has been so far, and it adds a great amount of color to the concert, and strangely enough can be interpreted through song choice and speculation as a story about the tumultuous nature of a summer fling and how fleeting they can be and the cycle it can run, and all spoken from a female perspective, an Arin perspective, if you will. As much as I lament to myself about those who only like Arin because they find her attractive, especially in these types of situations, I can't help but compliment this section, not only from that standpoint, but from an artistic one as well.
And the number 1 thing on today's list.
It really goes without saying, the main reason anyone should see this is because of Arin. Despite disagreeing with the way this particular live was distributed, at the same time I do understand this sentiment. I made a big stink about how inaccessible it was to a wider audience, and I still stand by that. However, I do think that this definitely is the live Arin's biggest fans would want to go out of their way to get. Speaking from a personal standpoint, I actually did have a chance to go see this live. I was studying in Japan at the time for the summer, and this happened right in the middle of my duration of that stay. Unfortunately, it took place on a Sunday night, and I had an exam the next day, and I was in Japan to study, and I was in Nagoya at the time, so travel and lack of sleep were my biggest concerns. So I decided not to go and went to Shachi Fest instead, which was taking place that same day. I vowed to myself that if it got a physical release, I would get it. And it didn't come. When Ayaka Nation 2019 was announced, of course I was very happy, but what about 2018? Myself and many other Puninofus relentlessly asked for it until finally saying Ayaka Nation 2018 would be released, but under very specific circumstances. Me being me, I could not live with just the shortened version released with the normal edition of Ayaka Nation 2019, and after misunderstanding that the pre-orders were the only orders you could make for the Angel Eyes edition of the DVD and Blu-ray, I was big sad because I didn't get it. My collection would not be complete without all the physical copies of Ayaka Nation, and so I waited and I looked, and now I'm finally happy to have Ayaka Nation 2018 in its entirety. That said, will it go down as being the biggest, being the best Ayaka Nation concert? Probably not. It seemed that Arin was beginning to lose her voice about halfway through the concert, and it looked like she was having difficulty singing the way she wanted to. So in that case, it's probably not the strongest performance she's ever done, but I reckon that if you're a fan of Arin, that wouldn't change anything. At the end of the day, it's Arin, and more Arin is always good, at least in my opinion. That's, how it is for me, at least. And if nothing else, Arin is the number one reason to see this concert in its entirety.
生まれ変わってもせーので